A day of remembrance for those who risked their lives for our country. Coming up, we show how our university commemorates their sacrifices.
Plus, the world of 3D printing has finally landed at UNC. We have an exclusive look at this exciting new technology that just about anyone can use.
This is Bear News.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Tanner Schwint.
And I'm Ashley Franco. Every year, UNC holds a small ceremony at the University Center to remember prisoners of war and those still missing in action. The ceremony started by raising the flag at 8 a.m. After the flag raising, guests enjoyed a pancake breakfast at the Marcus Garvey Cultural Center. But the day's main purpose was at the University Center, where they set up a table to commemorate those who never came back. POW MIA Day is a day to remember those who gave all and never came back. For more information, contact UNC's Veteran Services Office.
One thing is certain, a new governor runs Colorado starting next year. That's because current Democratic Governor John Hickenlooper is term limited. So who wants to replace him? Dalton Lanik is live in studio to tell us how the race for the State House shapes up.
With an open seat in a hotly contested state, it's no surprise that 10 Democrats, 13 Republicans, 5 independents, 2 unaffiliates, plus candidates from the Green, Constitution, and Libertarian parties all either tested the waters or actually ran for governor. During the math, that comes out to 33 potential or actual candidates. But in the end, only 4 are on the ballot. Who are they? Colorado Democrats nominated current 2nd District Congressman Jared Polis for the state's top job. He's joined by former Colorado House member Diane Primavera as Lieutenant Governor running mate. Polis first won election to the U.S. House on 2008 and didn't seek re-election this year to focus on the governor's race. In the Republican side, Walker Stapleton got the nomination in the state primary. He's the current state treasurer, a job he's held since being elected in 2010. He won re-election in 2014, so he is also term limited. His lieutenant governor running mate is current state House member Lang Sias. Scott Helker carries the Libertarian Party banner in this year's governor race. A Denver area lawyer, Helker hasn't held elective office before. He's joined by Lieutenant Governor candidate Michelle Pogue, who also hasn't held office before. She ran for the Colorado State Senate on the Libertarian Party ticket in 2012 and 2016, but didn't win either race. The last team is from the Unity Party. Bill Hammonds is running for the top job, joined by his lieutenant governor running mate, Eric Bodenstab. Hammonds ran for the U.S. Senate in both 2014 and 2016, receiving less than 1% of the vote in each election, and Bodenstab is a political newcomer. The 2014 governor's race was a nail-biter, with incumbent John Hickenlooper coming from behind to overtake former Representative Bob Beaupre by just 68,000 votes out of nearly 2 million votes cast. This year's race also looks to be tight, with Jared Polis leading slightly in both post polls. Tanner?
Thanks, Dalton. Be sure to join us next week when we look at the other state offices up for election this year.
UNC helped break the silence and stop the violence last Thursday as the university held its 25th annual Take Back the Night March and Rally. Each yearly event supports and celebrates survivors of sexual assault and gender-based violence. This year's theme encouraged victims and witnesses to speak up, adopting a rally message, "Your voice has power." Take Back the Night featured guest speakers such as Floretta Flo King, the Assistant Vice President of Equity and Inclusion, and UNC's new president, Andy Feinstein. Feinstein showed up to help raise awareness, participate in the march, and show his support to victims. UNC's 13th president told us he wanted everyone to take something away from the experience.
This is about raising awareness of gender violence in our communities. And all of these students and staff and faculty are here to take part in a march around campus, and I want to be a part of this.
The rally ended with a classic candlelight march around campus and refreshments for both participants and sponsors.
Now let's get a first look at the weather forecast with meteorologist Michaela Lucero. Now, Michaela, fall is here. The calendar says fall, but we've had a hot start to the new season. How's it looking out there?
Yeah, we definitely have felt a warmer start to fall than what we've seen in the last few years. Greeley at 77 degrees right now. Loveland, a few more clouds out there. We've got about 73 degrees. Fort Collins, 74, and down near Denver, seeing our warmest temperatures at 79. Near southern Colorado, 65 degrees. Out towards the eastern plains, hitting at 80, and out towards the mountains in those mid-50s. Now, not a whole lot's going on the radar for Colorado, but that can't be said for the rest of the country. We've got a lot of rain over the Dakotas moving into Iowa and into Minnesota, and a big old rain band bringing rain to the south and towards the northeast. Now, have you ever been interested in getting involved with meteorology on campus? I'll tell you more about that, our cool off for tomorrow, and your weekend weather in just a few minutes. Guys?
Coming up after the break, one UNC graduate student is studying multiple different kinds of cannabis and the effects that come along with it.
Plus, a walk down memory lane for Rockies fans near and far. One Bear News reporter got an inside look at an exhibit that is all about the Rockies. Stay with us.
All right, give me a spot. You know my motto, safety first.
They could be dangerous. I think we should call animal control.
Animal control.
To be safe.
Don't worry.
Just...
I got this. It's a new motto.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Here's your check.
Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. Got it. No.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Ever since Colorado voters legalized marijuana, scientists have studied it and its effects. As Bear News reporter Tim Page tells us, one UNC PhD student is also studying different kinds of cannabis and their effects.
UNC doctoral student Anna Schwabe is studying cannabis.
I'm researching cannabis genetics, and on top of that, well, it's kind of just researching the variation found within cannabis. So I'll be looking at not just genetics, but also various chemical levels, and then I'm going to be doing an epigenetics project where I actually grow hemp plants here on campus, and then I'll be experimentally manipulating them to find out how stress impacts the epigenome.
Cannabis strains vary from plant to plant, and Anna wanted to figure out why.
So back when cannabis was legalized in Colorado, I had a friend who she told me that she'd found this amazing strain, like it served all, checked all her boxes, didn't make her tired, it helped with whatever she was treating at the time, which I think was anxiety and I think some insomnia, but she was concerned, well, not concerned, but it was kind of weird that she could only get that strain. She could get it anywhere, but the only one that worked came from one particular location, and none of the other ones were, if she bought it somewhere else, it didn't do the same thing. And so she asked me, like, why would that be? Is it just, variation within plants? And so I started digging into it and found out that cannabis is generally produced through cloning, and it's very strange that something that's generally produced through cloning would be different from one place to another. And so I was like, well, my background is in population genetics, specifically plant genetics, and I think I can answer this question. So I asked my advisor if he would be interested in doing this project, and at first he said no, he didn't want to touch cannabis. It was, a bit taboo and all that, but he thought about it and went home, and a couple months later he called me back and said, would you still be interested in doing that? And I was like, well, yeah. And he's like, okay, you're in, come, let's do it. So we've been working on that for the last 3 years. This is going on my 4th.
Anna would love to continue her work with cannabis after she graduates in May.
I would love to get a job in the industry, in research and development, since cannabis has started becoming legal in various states and countries worldwide, there is definitely a call for scientists who can help with consistency, scientists who can develop new strains, maybe designing specific strains and doing more specific work. So hopefully that's what I'm hoping for, is doing cannabis genetics.
Awesome. All right, that's all.
For Bear News, I'm Timothy Page.
Schwabe's goal is to finish her research this school year, and she plans to graduate in May.
Well, you probably have a printer at home for those late night assignments when your pajamas are on and your paper is due at 8 a.m., right? But how many students can say they've got a printer that can print full 3D figures? The recently relocated digital fabrication studio at UNC can do all of that and more. Tucked away in the Arts Annex in what looks like a converted garage are more computers and gizmos than you can shake a plastic stick at. It's called the Digital Fabrication Studio, a place where students can go to watch their dreams come to life, literally. The Digital Fabrication Open Studio employs 8 small printers and 5 large printers capable of literally printing in plastic anything you want, just so long as it stays under the size of a basketball. If you're looking for 3 different laser cutters, vinyl printers, even a ceramic printer that prints with clay, then Digital Fabrication Studio has that too. 3D printing has been making waves in the medical field because it can print sanitary medical devices in a pinch and has attracted a steady following among hobbyists. Students of all stripes have already used the lab, from fine arts majors to software engineers and even us. Adjunct faculty member Agnes Ma runs a Digital Fabrication Studio. She says that we've only just begun to tap into the potential of 3D printing.
Now it's sort of become quite a novelty in the past 10 years. We're really looking at uses in every field you could possibly think of. Manufacturing, like prototyping, things like that. Engines are prototyped and then 3D printed and then manufactured. We also see things in the fine arts world. So if anything, I would think that it's just going to keep increasing as machines get more affordable. You'll see a lot more in people's homes, and you already see that now.
The Digital Fabrication Open Studio is open to students and faculty, though you should come with a pre-made model in PDF or SVT format, which they say can easily find online.
The Colorado Rockies 2018 season has been giving Rockies fans flashbacks to their historic 2007 World Series run all summer long. What better way to celebrate the return to their winning ways than a walk down memory lane? This week, Bear News reporter Luke Mullins did just that.
Baseball. It's been a central feature of American culture for well over a century. And now, some of its rarest memorabilia has made its way to Colorado. History Colorado Center public historian and exhibit developer Sam Bach let Bear News in for a tour of the traveling play ball exhibit. The most attention-grabbing display was a collection of bats near the entrance.
It's meant to sort of show, through time, some of the greatest hitters in the sport. But you can see we've set it up so that it looks like Lou Gehrig is actually swinging the bats. So if you take a look, this is Ty Cobb's bat. You can see, if you look carefully on the barrel there on the top, right under his signature, where he nailed it back together when it cracked and then filed it back down smooth, because this is his favorite bat.
Play ball also featured a variety of gloves that showed the evolution of the game over time.
Babe Ruth, I think this is a cool case. I really like this one because you can see here, this is his glove, from sort of early on in his career. And it's a glove. It's not, it's not a mitt like we think of today with the pocket. It's just a glove. And, you can imagine, catching a pop fly ball with that, it's not going to feel great. You have to have a big, tough hand. Well, there's no pocket, exactly, yeah. And there's actually not a lot of padding either. You can see it's kind of just thick leather with like a little padding inside, but, not with something I'd want to catch a fastball with, let's put it that way.
And as baseball changed, so did the country. As the sport grew in popularity, it became a central piece of pop culture.
Of course, Joe DiMaggio, amazing baseball player, but probably almost as famous for his relationship with Marilyn Monroe. And this is a receipt for a dozen roses that he sent to her while she was in the hospital in 1961.
But the impact of baseball on the culture goes far beyond the celebrities of Hollywood. At times, certain players could change public perception. Perhaps none more memorable than a Brooklyn icon who even had his own comic book.
This is a comic book. So Jackie Robinson, baseball hero, but also this program from Jackie Robinson's first Major League game, the first time an African-American man played in the major leagues.
Although the Rockies celebrate their 25th anniversary this season, baseball was around in Colorado long before the Rockies played their first game in 1993. The Denver Bears, who later became the Denver Zephyrs, were a popular minor league team in Colorado from the 1880s until the arrival of the Rockies more than a century later. The final display in the exhibit was by far the largest, and it featured memorabilia spanning the Rockies' 25 years of existence. From the Blake Street Bombers to the incredible 2007 World Series run, the cornerstone of Coors Field, and even the jerseys of today's stars. They had it all.
What you see here on these champagne bottles are actually literally sweat socks. And apparently this is part of the tradition. You know, when you win the championship series, you grab just socks out of lockers and you write the division series and whatever else you want on there, and then you tie it around the champagne bottles.
For Sam Bach and baseball fans across Colorado, the exhibit is a reminder of why this game will always be remembered as America's pastime.
And this is why I love this exhibit, is because people have such a personal connection to baseball.
Right.
And, you know, when they come in here and they see this stuff, it brings back, you know, those memories of being a kid at the ballpark or, you know, going with your dad.
Reporting from the History Colorado Center in Denver, this is Luke Mullins, Bear News.
The exhibit will remain at the History Colorado Center until September 30th, so you've still got a little time to plan a trip down to Denver. Fall is in the air, and it's been nice to have a break from that sweltering heat. After the break, we'll get a look at your full weather forecast with meteorologist Michaela Lucero, and we'll see if this cooler weather will stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. As a parent, you want to make sure that your child knows how to deal with bullying when they see it happening. And chances are they want to help, but they don't really know how. Teach them that the best thing to do is calmly walk away, find a teacher or other adult, and speak up. And do your part. Be that adult they can talk to and trust will listen. Join me to help stop bullying. Go to stopbullying.gov to find out more.
You sure you don't want some? It's chamomile. Listen, you are extremely terrifying. Just the scariest undead subhuman thing on TV, and I really mean that. But I am worried that you could give my kids nightmares if they see you, so I'm gonna have to block you. So that's it. Oh, and tell the zombies they're blocked too.
Welcome back to Bear News, and thanks for joining us. I'm meteorologist Michaela Lucero. Now, before I get to your forecast, I want to shine a little bit of light on UNC's meteorology students. Today, the American Meteorological Society here on campus headed out to the Salida del Sol to go teach second graders about weather. We had different arts and crafts for them. We brought out our tornado model to simulate tornadoes for them. We had different little worksheets that they could work on, and of course, handouts from the National Weather Service describing different types of weather. Now for Greeley weather, 80 degrees as we head into this afternoon. We'll stay in those 70s around 5 and 6 o'clock tonight. We are going to cool down quite a bit this evening. 30s near Denver, up towards northern Colorado, in those lower 50s. Now, we aren't going to warm up very much as we head into tomorrow. Only 50 degrees in Denver and about 53 degrees up near northern Colorado. Now, here's why we're feeling that big cool off. We've got this dominating trough over most of the United States. Now, this area is going to bring in cold, dry air into Colorado that's going to bring that cool off as we head into Friday. Only going to hit a high of 55 degrees here for Greeley, starting off our day at about 43 degrees, warming up to about 46 around noon, and only hitting 53 as we head into the afternoon. For the next 3 days, 50s tomorrow, but we'll be right back into those upper 80s to the start of our weekend, 78 on Saturday. As we start next week, 78 degrees with those mostly sunny skies, but we'll be back to sunny skies and warm temperatures to finish off next week. Guys?
Well, I think I can speak for all of us when I say that we're definitely ready for that fall cool down. Thanks, Michaela. One sophomore is taking the reins as the new starting quarterback for UNC. Coming up, we sit down with Keaton Mott and talk about his new position.
And a tough loss for the Broncos after a strong start against the Baltimore Ravens. Ben Shoemate will have all of the highlights coming up in sports.
Kids will spend 8 minutes decorating their little brother.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
Starting quarterback Jacob Knipp's broken collarbone leaves big shoes to fill for the University of Northern Colorado's football team. But as Chris Bolin tells us, sophomore Keaton Mott is ready to step in.
It's not uncommon to see the Bears starting quarterback donning that red practice jersey, taking reps well after practice has ended. But it's the name on the back of that jersey that's changed. Since Jacob Knipp suffered a broken collarbone in the first drive of the Bears game against Sacramento State, redshirt sophomore Keaton Mott has been the guy.
That's tough to see him go down like that, and our quarterback room is pretty close. So for all of us, it hurt for a little bit, but when I went in, it was just let's just get this job done.
Mott stepped up admirably, throwing for 310 yards and 2 touchdowns, and falling just short in a 28-25 loss to the Hornets.
We played well. We didn't get the W like we wanted to. There's good things on the field. There was a lot of mistakes as well. And so just going in this week was really honing in on the little things as far as in the run game and in the pass game. So.
While things have looked a little different at practice since Knipp went down, it hasn't changed all that much. Offensive coordinator John Boyer says the Bears haven't put in any new formations for Mott, but rather changed the play calls and the formations they already run. And while both quarterbacks are equipped to run this offense, they both do it a little different. Knipp was more detail-oriented, knowing where all 22 players are going to be on the field at all times, while Mott's more of a gunslinger, willing to take a chance to make a play happen. But Mott's not trying to be Jacob Knipp. He's just trying to be the next man up.
So he's a leader through and through, and having a chance to get a full week of practice and be in that number one role, his leadership skills are coming out, and that's one thing that I'm very grateful to have at that spot right now.
This is the third year Knipp has gone down early in the season with an injury, so the Bears have had to develop a next man up mentality. And while a loss to Weber State surely wasn't how Mott envisioned his debut as a starter going, it hasn't done anything to dampen UNC's hopes.
He's more than capable of getting the job done, and he excels in so many areas. So there's no concerns on my end. It's more excitement to see what he can go out and do.
Reporting for Bear News, I'm Chris Bolin.
While 4 straight losses to open the season surely isn't what Mott or the rest of the Bears team hoped for, UNC still has time to right the ship, and with the sophomore gunslinger at the helm. And it was the tale of 2 different teams for the UNC Bears volleyball team last week. Starting on Thursday, the Bears had a big weekend ahead. The Bears lost Thursday in a 3-set sweep to Idaho. UNC came into the match with a 2-match winning streak, but that came to a roaring halt as Idaho took a sweep 25-19, 25-17, and then 25-22. The Bears did have a bright spot as senior Courtney Lockie registered her 1,000th kill. Tanner will have more about that later on. But the ladies didn't have much time to think about the loss as they hosted Eastern Washington and took out some of their frustrations on them. This time it was the Bears who registered the sweep as they won in consecutive sets 25-18, 25-20, and 25-18 again. The usual suspects led the team in kills as Muff and Lockie got 11 each, and the 5 and 6 Bears host Montana tonight at 7. And remember when that little guy thought the sky was falling? Well, after the Denver Broncos performance on Sunday, many Broncos fans felt the same as our little chicken friend. Denver got off to a fast start this week as they scored on their first offensive touch on a run by Royce Freeman, and that run was thanks to Denver's punt return unit blocking a Baltimore punt. The Broncos led the entire first quarter. The only problem is they didn't put another offensive point on the board for the next 3 quarters. The Ravens scored 20 unanswered points on their way to a 27-14 win over the Broncos. Quarterback Case Keenum looked lost for most of the game, ending with fewer than 200 passing yards and another interception. Denver hosts the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs on Monday night as they hope to bounce back and show fans that the sky, in fact, is not falling. And yesterday, there were 3 simple things that needed to happen for the Rockies to be in first place, or at least in the wild card spot. First thing, to have the Brewers beat the Cardinals. Check. Second thing, Rockies beat the Phillies to extend their winning streak to 6 games. Again, check. And third, have the Arizona Diamondbacks, who the Rockies just swept, beat the Dodgers. And check. The Rockies must have heard my concern from last week and decided to win every single game from then to now. As I said, they swept the Diamondbacks in Arizona and then set their sights on the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies are playing one more game at Coors this afternoon, which they've actually completed. But in the first 3 games, the Blake Street Bombers outscored the Phils 34-4, and the Rockies scored double digits in all 3 games. Today, however, the Rockies did not score double digits, but they did score 5, while the Phillies only scored 3, which is their 7th straight victory. David Dahl anchored the Rockies, who came up with back-breaking home runs in 3 straight games to energize the Rockies lineup, and German Marquez tied the Major League record for most consecutive strikeouts when he set down the first 8 batters he faced on strikes. After the Phils, the Rockies have 3 more games against the Washington Nationals to secure their spot in October.
They could either be a wildcard team or the champions of the National League West, a title they have never held. And while I don't know about your weekend plans, I'm sure that the baseball stadium in Denver on 20th and Blake will be a very exciting place to be. And for our last story tonight, we're bringing it back home to UNC. Success at the college level is incredibly difficult, but being one of only 18 people to even register 1,000 kills in UNC volleyball history, that's more than impressive. That's nearly impossible. Bear News anchor Tanner Schwint caught up with senior volleyball player Courtney Lockie after she did the almost impossible.
Court, obviously Thursday you had you hit the 1,000 kill mark. Only the 18th player, I believe, to do that. Take me through what your mindset was going into that game.
Going into the game, I knew I needed to get 2. My teammates would not stop reminding me of it. I opened my locker to a different gift, a different letter. They were really supportive of me. So I remember getting the first one, and I thought, well, there's one. But by the time I got the second one, it hadn't really registered in my mind. But when I went back to the service line and I heard the roar of the crowd and everyone stood up, it was a really good feeling.
Your volleyball career as a whole starting to maybe wrap up a little bit. Has that hit you yet, or do you think that'll hit you when you play your last match?
It's hit me at times. I don't want to say on camera that I've cried, but I have cried a couple times. I know exactly how many days left. There are 59 until the Big Sky today. So I'm counting down those 59 days and just doing everything I can to make it count.
And the biggest thing is we stand here in an empty gym, obviously, almost empty gym. These days are waning, and what's the biggest thing that you're going to miss? Is it being here in this gym, putting in that extra work? Is it the roar of the crowd when you go get that kill? What is it that you're going to miss the most of volleyball?
I think I'm going to miss the relationships the most. And they tell you that over and over again, and you don't really realize it until it's gone. I really realized it when this group of seniors left me because I was so close to them that I realized I miss those relationships. And I think that that's going to be the hardest thing.
We will definitely miss seeing her out on that volleyball court. But, Court, let's say good luck to you, and whatever your future holds, I know you're going to rock it.
Thanks, Tanner.
All right, thank you. Back to you, Ben.
It's always nice to reminisce about something this special, and it couldn't happen to a better person than the Bears' Courtney Lockie.
Well, that's no doubt. She's a great volleyball player, obviously, but an even better person off the court when she's been a part of us at Bear News and everything that she's done at UNC.
Yeah, she is one of our own. She's a reporter for us. She's been a reporter for us, and we're thrilled. We couldn't be happier for Courtney.
I'm excited to see where she goes.
Absolutely.
Remember, Bear News is your on-campus source for all things UNC.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.